What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Lennox.
And I'm Amir.
Today we're talking about Star Wars.
Woo.
I'm more excited than Amir is.
Yeah, I mean, I like Star Wars, but I'm not like super into it like you are.
Star Wars was my bread and butter for so much as a kid. Like when I was growing up, you were a nerd. You must be big on Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the movies. That was like my big thing is I loved watching the movies. I liked some of the shows. I will say, and a lot of people are probably gonna like hate me for it if they love Star Wars, and you'll probably say something, but yeah, never actually completed like the Clone Wars cartoon or anything. I definitely was more of like I'm gonna watch the movies, and then when they came out with all the new shows and everything, I've seen some of them, but I don't know. Like Star Wars is cool, but
folks, I didn't realize that I was bringing a filthy heathen into this conversation.
Well, you should have known by the name at the very least.
Yeah, no kidding. So, for me, Star Wars was very big. As a kid who spent a lot of time in a fairly rural area, trapped in a house with limited internet access and options, I watched the Star Wars movies. I read a bunch of Star Wars books, a couple comics. To flex on the other nerds, I would have to know more about Star Wars than they did.
Yeah, I was more of like I loved the lightsabers, so I would have like a bunch of I'd have a bunch of the like the toys and everything, and me and my cousins, we used to have lightsaber battles and like all that stuff. Like we used to have like just sticks, regular sticks that we would kind of like peel the bark back and everything, and they were like good solid sticks. And you know how kids do like the sword fighting and everything? Well, we did that version, but we also did like a Star Wars version where, like we were Star Wars characters and we would lightsaber battle and try and learn like the techniques that they would use. So that was my nerdiness. I didn't go into the lore. I kind of like took what I seen and made it like something for us.
That's still pretty standard. Yeah, like as a kid, of course, like what are you gonna? You see a stick, you pick it up, and you fight your other friends with that stick. That's classic kid shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you go ahead and you flip it on over, and then you needed to be able to like have deeper conversations about it. Like you had to talk about Star Wars on its surface is very kid-like, but you dig down deeper into it, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot like deeper nuance to it. Like I have conversations with people about this too. It's like, yeah, you can accept that it's just kid stuff on the surface, and at that point, it's like, well, why care about anything? Like, why care about it at all? It's like, no, we have these conversations about it. Like, we dig deeper into it because it's fun, and maybe you learn something, or maybe gives you something to think about.
Yeah, we were more of like, we liked the Legos, the video games, the movies, the toys. We didn't go into like the lore of things. So.
Oh, okay. First off, those Lego games are goated. Like,
well,
they're perfect.
Yeah, the Lego games were great, but I'm talking like just separately, like the Lego sets and then like the video games.
Oh yeah, if you had the Millennium Falcon Lego set as a kid, you had it made.
Yeah, well, one of my other cousins, he was the type, and I think I've told you this story before. He was the type that like if he wanted a certain Lego set, you weren't allowed to have that Lego set. If he wanted to buy it, he was gonna buy it. No one else could have it, and it pissed me off.
I remember that. It's like, I want this so no one else can have it type mentality.
Yeah. Oh, and it pissed me off because of course he got like all the best ones, and then you say, oh, I want to get this one or whatever, and he's like, you can't get that one. I'm getting that one, and so like he bullied you into not asking for it. So then I didn't get those ones. I mean, plus they were expensive, but
yeah.
So it was yeah, he had like the Death Star and everything, and like the big fucking AT-AT, and it was just it pissed me off that he had like all the great Lego sets. Although I had the droid carrier from episode 1, so that was cool.
That is cool. Yeah, I knew kids like that, but I wasn't unfortunate enough to have one as a cousin, so I could always be like, "All right, we'll see you next time at school," and then on the bus ride home, be like, "Never gonna talk to that kid again."
Yeah, well, I
Um,
mean, when we played with like the sticks and everything, it was I get to be Darth Maul. You can't have a double-sided lightsaber, so I had just the regular, stick, and I had to use it like a regular lightsaber because I wasn't allowed to have the double-sided. Even if I found like a really nice like long stick that would work perfect for double-sided, he's like, you can't. I'm already Darth Maul. And it's
what an
like, well,
ass!
I can just be a different guy. Well, there is no other guy. I'm just like, whatever.
Stupid. Well, doubling back real quick to video games. So Lego games, like weirdly perfect. Like the humor in them is pretty spot on. It's a laid back game. It's fun to play. All that. Other than the Lego game, though, did you play any other Star Wars games?
Um, I played, excuse me, Battlefront. Um, and then there was one that was on the original Xbox that I played a little bit of. And I don't remember what it was. And then I've also played like the pod racing one, that I think was on PlayStation, or maybe it was
Hmm.
like Dreamcast or something that we played it on. I think it was Dreamcast actually. That we played it on. Um, uh, Probably quite a few. I don't know, like I don't remember all the games. Like, I'd have to look through and see like which games there were and see if any of them like stood out.
Oh, I got into it when I was a kid too. Like the playing on the N64 Rogue Squadron, great game. A lot of great like legends. It was one of those games that like wanted to have you learn more about the expanded universe, like the old expanded universe, the good one, the Legends one. Before it was wished away by the mouse. Um, the a number of the games like let me double back for a sec. So one of the missions on it, like for example, was having you fight different like super weapons and different problems, like the world devastators or whatever, where you had to like rescue certain individuals who were like important Legends characters, and it was all very cool. And also introduced ships like the B wing, like that weird like folding ship that had like the little pod next to it and it had like the variable wing sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you knew what I was talking about with that, but it's yeah, introduced like the B wing and like all these other cool things. And like as a kid, you'd see these huge things you were fighting, and like you'd hear all this background chatter going on, and you're just like, "What is this? What's going on? I'm curious. I want to know more." And that sort of dives you into the books and stuff like that. But after that, there was other games. There was Star Wars Starfighter for the Xbox, which was a lot of fun. I think it might have also been for PlayStation, but I'm pretty sure. But I played it on the Xbox. It was a fun game. Like there's like different characters in it, and you play in like a starfighter, and you're like doing missions. Like you're one of the Naboo starfighters, and you're helping the Queen escape in Episode 1.
Okay.
But then like you have to escape on your own or whatever, because like you can't follow after the ship or whatever, because that's not how it happened in the movie.
Yeah. I remember playing what was that, the Jedi Academy game.
Yes.
I played some of that, but we didn't have like a computer that ran it really well, so I played it over at I think it was my neighbor's house or my babysitter down the road or something. I can't remember exactly, but I brought it over there and played it a little bit, so I didn't get to play it like a lot. But I actually do have it, I think, on Xbox One, maybe. And I played like the intro of it just to kind of like get the feel for it again. That was a couple years ago though, so it's been a while since I played that one too.
Oh, Jedi Academy is like fantastic. Like what a great Star Wars game. Yeah, that means you know who Kyle Katarn is.
I believe so. That's like the main guy or the main guy's friend or something like that, isn't it?
I'm trying to remember from like what the story is, and I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure if you would remember or not. So like Jedi Academy, you'd have like Kyle Katarn. He's like the main guy you're having running around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like there's I think I'm trying to remember because it's been so long since I played one of the Academy games. There's that I think it's the second game or whatever where like you're doing missions as Kyle Katarn and you're running around and you're fighting that one guy who's like has like the dinosaur head.
I don't remember any of that.
I don't have his name written down, so I'm not going to remember it off the top of my head. He was a basically he was a big saurian alien guy who was like a fallen student of Luke Skywalker, and he fell to the dark side, and you had to like hunt him across the galaxy and everything, and you fight the Dark Trooper program and all that.
Um,
But I might
sorry,
be
go
getting
ahead.
my games mixed up there because it's been a while since I played those games. But honestly, though, if I had to pick a game that was the best of Star Wars games growing up, it wasn't even Battlefront, or which was high up there. It had to be Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, see, I never played that one. I know a lot of people loved it, but I didn't
I
play it.
I gotta make you play that. And honestly, it's a toss up for me, which is the better one. Because on the one hand, the first game is solid. It's completed. First off, like it wasn't rushed to production or anything. It's a finished story. It's self contained. It's great. It's awesome. It's a great little adventure. The second one, as much as I love the characters more and like all the other stuff you do in it, it could arguably be a better game, but it's so unfinished and it was so unloved after it came out. Like they never added on to it anymore. That unfortunately, it's just an incomplete game. They have like a restored content mod that the devs for it put out and everything, but they were rushed to push the game out, and so unfortunately, it came out incomplete.
Um,
It's actually very heartbreaking because it arguably is a much better game. Like the bones for it is all there, but it's hard to compete with a game that's actually complete, at least in my mind.
just looking right now to try and see the characters for Jedi Academy.
Yeah, I could probably be looking those up too, just to make sure I'm not misquoting myself here.
Well, because I remember you can like create your person, so it's I don't think it was like an actual like set person for the main character that you play as, but I was trying to see if maybe it talked about the let's see. And Kyle Katarn, who welcomed them to the academy. Jaden and Rosh are assigned to study under Kyle. Yeah, so Kyle is in that one. I don't quite remember who he is though.
Oh, Kyle, he's like I don't know where this came from, but I met enough people who knew exactly what I was talking about and backed me up on this that as far as I'm concerned, this is fan canon. Kyle Katarn is basically Chuck Norris in Star Wars. He's got oh god, the guy is like he's the action hero of action heroes. He's really really cool. He's a former elite stormtrooper who defected from the Empire and joined the rebellion, and he got training from Luke Skywalker, and yeah, then he just became like this very certifiable badass. Half because he carried around a blaster and a lightsaber a lot of the time, and just went on these crazy adventures.
Yeah, I was looking. He's in I guess like the Dark Forces, Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. So yeah, he was in there. I'm trying to picture his character in my head, and I can't, and I'm not seeing like a picture of his character. At least
From what I remember, he's got like this beige shirt on with like he might have like a cape or something, or he's got like brown shoulder pads, brown pants, and I think he had a blue lightsaber most of the time.
I don't know, probably. I was just trying to like picture it while you were like talking about him and everything, and I was trying to look him up, but
just a certifiable badass, just all around badass. Guy was freaking nuts with his adventures. But yeah, he's his own great character. I will say though that one of the even better character, a character that's much more near and dear, going to Knights of the Old Republic, Revan.
See,
Yeah,
I don't know who that is either.
You don't know who that is? Oh my god. He's this fantastic character from the Knights of the Old Republic games. I don't want to spoil it for you because maybe I can encourage you to play the game on your own one day and we can talk about it. But it's they're fantastic games. Just like solid Star Wars stories. Like you dial back the clock a couple thousand years, and all the factions are there. The characters and the faces are all different, but the story plays out pretty damn good.
Yeah, and like I kind of said before, like most of my knowledge is based on just like the movies, a little bit of the shows, and like some of the video game stuff. But it's been a long time since I played any of the video games, so like even the video game stuff is kind of blurry to me.
That's fair, and without trying to sound too condescending about it, like I'm limiting or I'm trying to like sound out like where your knowledge base is at, so I can like meet you part way here, because I don't want to like throw out like Mara Jade, or it's like Cal Scarata, and just expect you to know who those people are.
I feel like okay, the first one is that Luke's wife.
Yes.
And
Woo!
then
You got him, boys.
The second one you said, repeat the name.
Cal Scarata.
And he's the one in the new Jedi games, right?
No,
it's Cal something, isn't it?
You're thinking Cal Kestis.
Okay, I was thinking Cal, so I was like, I'm pretty sure that's okay.
I would have been shocked if you were able to name both of those characters, just because Cal Scarata is the grumpy old man from a series of books that were pretty popular for a while before the Disney buyout happened. It was he was like a trainer for clone commandos.
Okay.
And he's like this Mandalorian training sergeant, and he's like the classic grumpy old man, has like the crew cut going on. He's all like frowny and like rough around the edges, and has like this mercenary past to him. But like all the commandos like really look up to him because to a lot of them he's like their dad.
Okay.
There's more to it. I'm seriously limiting what the details are on this, but that's the gist of it. And he's this great character, right? There's this really cool scene where he's talking to a Jedi who's like sort of being introduced into like the world of like special operations. And so they walk into a room at one point, and he's like, I'm just gonna relax a bit, and he takes his jacket off, and he pulls out like a Garrett wire from his pocket, and then he pulls out like a chain, a brass knuckles, a little gun, and like some knives, and like he puts them all on the table or whatever, and like relaxes his shoulders. And the Jedi in the room is just like, that's a lot of stuff, and or no, she's like, that's the stuff, your gear. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. That's just what I carry on me. Once we get started actually working, I'll be carrying much better gear and a lot more of it too.
Of course.
It's like, and she's just like so shocked by this, and yeah, it's funny. There's like a little bit of mutual respect going on too early on, because she walks off like this is during the Clone Wars, and so one of the clones are all like, oh yeah, Sarge, you're gonna like meeting this Jedi. She's actually pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, I'll be the judge of that. Turns his head, and like she's hauling like this giant like laser cannon over her shoulder as she's walking towards them, and is like, hey, what's going on? She's like 5.5 feet tall, and she's handling like this giant mobile artillery piece over her shoulder, and he's just like, oh yeah, what's up?
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool characters in Star Wars, and most of them I don't know, but I've like seen little bits of or whatever, and just I'm just kind of scrolling through the data bank right now, looking at some of these. Yeah, and I'm like, I know a lot of these, or at least I've seen them or heard of them, and then there's a bunch that I have no clue. I really like all the different like races and everything that they have in Star Wars. Like it seems like it really is like really fleshed out, because you're not gonna have just like a handful of races when you're going to like different star systems and everything. You're gonna have all these different like creatures.
Oh yeah, it's a true intergalactic community. Like things are very mixed up. Like you're gonna see like there's very few planets where you can expect to only see one species of people. Like you'll expect like to see like 5 or 6 different aliens or kinds of beings like all hanging out on the planet. Like humans are classic, but then you'll see like some guy with like a fish head. Then you'll turn over and there's some guy with a dinosaur head. It's like all this stuff, and it's not racist. I'm painting with broad strokes. Don't call me racist.
No, I was just coughing.
It's like just because I don't name out them individually. It's been a minute. I don't remember all the individual races. I mean, there's like 3 different fish species that I can think of that exist in Star Wars.
Okay, I'll ask you this: what is your favorite race in Star Wars?
Oh, that's hard. Was really not prepared to have to answer this question before an audience. I mean, personally, I'm very pro-human, so I'm always like, well, of course the humans. But if I had to pick a favorite alien species, that's a little harder. Huh. I would say probably. I'm gonna sound like a normie, but I'm gonna say probably the Wookiees.
Yeah.
Like the Wookiees have a really cool. Well, oddly enough, the Wookiees are also their origin of their species is discussed in Knights of the Old Republic. But they have a really cool origin of their species, like a really cool culture, and it has interesting implications around it.
Yeah, I'd have to say mine would probably be it's kind of a mix. I don't think I can pick just one. I'd have to say Wookiees up there. And then like the Ewoks, of course, because they're cute little teddy bears. And then like Gungans. Gungans are one of my favorites. And then I'm trying to think, what is Darth Maul?
He's a Zabrak, and folks listening at home, I want you to understand that if Mimir and I were in the same room right now, I'd be giving him a look that I hope would make him stop talking when he said Ewoks, and then Gungans right after that. Like, I wanted to throw up in my mouth.
I fucking love the Gungans.
Okay, Gungans aren't that terrible. I'll give you that much. The Gungans actually have like really cool. There's a game you and I discussed recently, Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. The Gungans are a faction in that game that you can play as, and they're actually kind of cool. I do appreciate like their story and like some of the aesthetics around their race and everything. Just I don't know, Jar Jar left deep scars on a lot of people.
A lot of people hate Jar Jar, and I don't know why. I think Jar Jar is like he's a great comedic relief. And I don't like. Okay, let me preface this a little bit. I don't like when movies that are a little bit more serious have like over comedy. Like I'll jump universes real quick. Like the Marvel universe, how they really fucked with like Thor, especially like what was it? Love and Thunder was. I mean, it was a good movie, but it was also dumb. And what was the one right before that? Ragnarok, I think.
Ragnarok, yeah.
Yeah, that one. They were trying too hard to be too funny. Now, with that being said, the Gungans, especially Jar Jar, like that's who he is. It's not him trying to be funny. He is just like he's a klutz. He got kicked out of I'm blanking on the name of his city.
I'm also blanking on it.
But anyway, he got kicked out. He got banished.
You're gonna make fun of me for actually remembering this, but I just remembered because I was thinking Polis Massa, but then I was like, no, it's Oto Gunga or something like that.
Something I don't remember, but it's he gets kicked out. He gets banished. And because he is like the the town fool. You know, it's they don't like him there because he keeps fucking everything up and like breaking things or causing all these problems and everything. So it's not like it's uncharacteristic for him to be like the butt of the joke, and for him to constantly being like getting in these situations and they just kind of work themselves out. That also led to a lot of speculation that he's not really like that. Maybe he's like, forcing these things to happen.
I'm struggling with comprehending that you're actually building a defense for frickin' Jar Jar Binks.
Well, some people say that, Jar Jar's a Sith.
He's not.
I know, but I like that theory in some ways because it's like, if you really look at it, like Jar Jar went from being like this, banished fool to, part of the Senate.
The only reason people like that theory is because you can't understand the idea of someone being so stupid and yet accomplishing so much. So it's like, oh, it has to be part of some greater plot. This feeds into that.
Yeah, but
look, he's not actually that stupid.
Look,
but no, he is. He is that stupid.
I don't know. Look how poised he is in later movies. Look how like put together he is. And I get
After
it. Like
he almost got run over by a hover vehicle. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Well, this is like years and years and years after. Like, Annie's all grown up, and like look at how he holds himself and his position and everything. Like, how did that happen? Like, I get it. Like, sometimes you give like an idiot responsibility and they can rise to the challenge, but I don't know. Like, do we really think Jar Jar could have gotten that far? Plus, he just happens to run into the two Jedi that can help save everything.
I want to throw up in my mouth as you're saying all this. This is disgusting.
I don't fully believe it, but you know how like sometimes it's fun to like go into conspiracy theories and things like that. Well, like this is one of those little theories, like a fan theory that I enjoy looking into.
I can indulge as long as we're clear that it's like a funny what if. Like, what if Jar Jar was really the bad guy the whole time? But as long as we're not taking it seriously.
Yeah, I don't actually believe that Jar Jar's a Sith. But it's fun to play into that and be like, well, let's look at, some of the things that have happened. Like, there could be a possibility. But I don't believe it.
I hesitate to mention this to you just because I don't want it to feed into this weird delusion you have. But there is a Legends comic. I specifically remember this Legends comic when people brought it up when the whole Jar Jar might be a Sith theory was going around a couple years back. It's a comic where during the Clone Wars, Jar Jar is with this detachment of clone troopers, and like when no one is around to like call him out on it, Jar Jar gets this moment where he's like incredibly competent, drops the fool's mask that he wears, and becomes like this incredibly lethal individual that like you never expected it from him. And it fuels that fire, and I'm hesitant to have just given it to you, but I want this to feed into a greater idea of yours, or that you can have, where Legends covers a much broader series of Star Wars events and topics and cultures and ideas, and it's much more exciting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fun to look into that type of stuff, and Jar Jar himself has like that whole like way of the drunken fist like way about him, and you kind of see that a little bit too with like in other like media, like Jackie Chan, where he's like super defensive about things, or he's just kind of flailing around. Jar Jar has that same type of like aspect to him, where you can see he's a little bit acting like a fool, but it almost seems like he's doing it on purpose. Like you have like the way of the drunken fist monks,
Except for it'd be like for his people, it'd be what? It's like the way of the floppy fish.
Yeah, why not?
The way of the drunken frog.
Yeah, like and like that's why I like Gungan so much though, is because like to me that whole their whole society just kind of like it always felt really cool, where it's like they're somewhat like tribalistic in their technology, but it's also like somewhat advanced too. I mean, obviously, like most of these places are pretty advanced with technology, and I don't know, just the way that he like fits into the rest of the universe with coming from like a, I want to say, less advanced species, and then like, I don't know, just the way that he handles situations, the way that the Gungans handle situations, like when they're battling the droids and everything in episode 1. Like, it's, I don't know, it, to me, that was always really cool. I was like, their technology is kind of cool because it's somewhat compared to, like, you know, everything else.
I'll give you that. Yeah, it's interesting, like this organic gel tech that they have going on, like how like these bubbles existing, like tied to the ocean floor, or tied to the swamp bed and everything, and you just swim down there, and like there's like these big cities, or like the Jedi step through. I can't remember if they dried off when they stepped through them, but I seem to remember that they did. Where
I don't remember.
They swam up to the entrance of one of these buildings, and then they walked in. And I think they were like, their clothes were dry and everything, and I was like, "That's really cool." Like,
yeah.
What a great idea for like a hidden city or like a hidden location or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent with like the Gungans and everything, but
you brought us to this. You put this out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
better
one
than
of my
a tangent on
favorites.
better than a tangent on the Ewoks, for God's sake.
I love the Ewoks.
Shut up.
Okay.
Shut up.
Let's look at the 3 real quick before we end this episode. Let's look at the 3. They all share something in common. They're all like somewhat primitive, and I don't know why I like that so much, but it's like in the whole, like, and you know that I like fantasy stuff more than I like, you know, sci-fi stuff.
That's true.
But so like looking at those 3, like they all share that like characteristic where they're somewhat primitive compared to, you know, like the big cities of like what is it, Sky City or whatever,
Like, you mean Coruscant or Bespin?
Yeah, well, you know, like any of like the large cities where it's like what's the place that the bounty hunter went after Padme?
You mean Coruscant?
Is that Coruscant?
The big city, like the mega city planet in the center of the galaxy.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, like if you look at like one of those like metropolises compared to like Hoth or Endor or what is the fuck? I can't think of the name of it. The Wookiees' home planet.
Depending on how you pronounce it, it's Kashyyyk or Kashyyyk.
Yeah, Kashyyyk. So, you know, like looking at those 3, well, I guess I mentioned Hoth in there too. Hoth is not as, I mean, it's just a big snowy area, but
it's literally just it's backwoods Alaska.
Yeah, you know, so I like those areas more than I like the big cities, you know, or like the bussiness of like a lot of the other like planets and places that you visit in Star Wars.
While we're talking, I'm just thinking of all the Star Wars stuff that you're missing out on that you would love, like different planets and stuff that don't get mentioned in TV shows but are actually really cool when you dig into the books.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we'll get into some more of that, but I think that'll do it for the first episode.
Yeah, let's end the episode before you go on a tangent about how great Ewoks are and we drive away what little audience we have.
Hey, you leave my little teddy bears alone.
Oh, God. End it now.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and check out the merch shop, and we will see you in the next one.
See you next time.